Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of Austin's Academy of Sports, where today is Monday, July 24th, and we have some disappointing news coming from the Lions training camp facilities in Allen Park. They started training camp on Sunday, so today was day 2 on Monday. They have a few more training camp days scheduled before they start joint practicing with the New York Giants coming up. And then they face the New York Giants in preseason week 1 on August 11th. So that's a lot of important stuff coming up for the Lions. But the disappointing news is, excuse me, C.J. Gardner Johnson, the top Lions safety that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell went out to sign this summer. He hurt himself on a non-contact injury. I know myself and Andrew talked about him a lot last week on our Lions podcast, but we wanted C.J. Gardner Johnson to play, and we don't know if that's going to happen. None of us know, except C.J. Gardner Johnson and his medical team, because of his non-contact injury on day 2 of training camp. I don't think that he'll, regardless of the injury or the outcome, I don't think he'll play the rest of training camp. He might do some soft drills or light drills or whatever you want to call them, but even if it's a better injury than an ACL, like I said, he'll just stay on the sidelines and do some light drills, stuff like that. But if it's an ACL injury, which it might be, he'll be out for the season, I would imagine. And that would be a heartbreaker because he's only on 1-year contract with the Lions. So they could restructure his contract and maybe get somebody new, maybe. We'll see what happens, but the tests are coming back. And like 20 minutes ago, I just got a report that he is doing better. Running through a few tests. Some of the sources are saying he's fine, but we'll know more probably tomorrow with Dan Campbell's media scheduled interview at 8 o'clock in the morning. So when you guys wake up Tuesday morning, we'll either have happy news or sad news. Either way, he's not 100%, so he'll be out probably the rest of this week and next week, I would imagine. Maybe even the first preseason game, if it's a low-key injury, like I'm thinking it is. But if it's an ACL, like I said, he'll be out the whole year. And that'll be devastating news because the Lions, they haven't even started their season yet. And they already have 3 or 4 or 5 players on the injured list. And they haven't even started putting pads on yet. So it just goes to show like why this team is and how this team injures themselves so frequently. But Hendon Hooker is the one player that's injured. He's recovering from an ACL as a quarterback. I'm not really worried about him. He's right on track probably. I think he's on month 7.5 or so of a 9 to 10 month ACL recovery injury time period. So we'll see what happens there, but I don't see him playing this year like me and Andrew mentioned. So even if he's on the injured list, he'll just take up a roster spot. Emmanuel Mosley was the other one that is recovering from an ACL. He missed all of last year with his ACL injury on the defensive backside. So, but today Dan Campbell said that they're expecting him to be back by the end of this week. So that's encouraging news. I don't think he'll be off the injured list, but maybe next week and for the first preseason game he'll come back because it sounded like his ACL injury took a minor setback. So he might not play at all this training camp either. But we'll see what happens. And then we got Derek Deese, and there was another tight end on the injured list. They're back off the injured list. So that's good news. And then, of course, C.J. Gardner Johnson. He's not officially on the injured list yet, but he might be coming up. And then there was one other player who I'm missing. Levi Orzaworki, I think his last name is. He's a defensive tackle. He did not play last year, but he is rehabbing from a back injury, and the Lions did not place him on the injured list to start training camp. They're working him in lightly, so that's encouraging news as well, as our defensive line was not the best last year besides Aiden Hutchinson and James Houston. So we're getting up some positive news, but today's the biggest news out of the Lions facility was C.J. Gardner-Johnson going after the non-contact injury, which I don't think was non-contact, to be honest, with all the reports I'm getting. They said that he was going to make like some sort of tackle on Jahmyr Gibbs, and he got wrapped up in some of the players or something like that, and he got carted off the field. So he was angry, he was mad at himself, and he even had two of the captains, Jared Goff and Isaiah Buggs, come up to him and console him and stuff like that. But I'm hoping that he'll be back. I'm waiting for the alerts and stuff like that for him to come back, as you guys should be too. And hoping for a positive Lions season this year. But even without him, good thing we drafted Brian Branch for safety. But we already have Tracy Walker coming back. We already have Kirby Joseph from last year. We still have Cam Sutton that we got in free agency, but now he's down to one of three people. So with Emmanuel Mosley, Cam Sutton, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson. So we still have some productive players, and the season is not over. It's definitely not over, so don't worry about that. But it was definitely some negative news out of Allen Park today. So keep in mind the news that you're going to get with C.J. Gardner-Johnson in the coming days. And without further ado, I guess that was the news I wanted to deliver. Have a great week, and I'll see you next week.